Hi, good evening. Thanks everyone for coming out. The time is 6:01 p.m. I call to order this regular scheduled meeting of the April 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Oconee County Council. Let's begin with a moment of silence. Mr. David Root, would you pray for us?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Oh God, our source, our creator, the giver of our lives, we are grateful for that. We're grateful for every moment that you give us, and help us to be appreciative when we are not. Thank you for this meeting tonight. I pray that it would be a meeting that would follow your principles of love and kindness, truth, clarity and insight, that you give counsel those properties and just guide the meeting, that it be a meeting by your direction and by your will. In your name I pray, amen.
Mr. Glenn Hart, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have approval of March 19th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Motion and second. Any changes or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Next, we have county attorney comments. Mr. David Root.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I do have two matters, housekeeping matters. I need a motion to amend the agenda. One, to remove first reading on ordinance 2024-13. That's Project Cherry. We got a new wrinkle yesterday, so we'll bring that back in the next meeting. And the others, you can do this together unless there's an objection, is to remove the third item from executive session, which is regarding the land acquisition and current and future operations at the rock quarry. So just need a motion to remove.
Make a motion as Mr. Root laid out.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Thank you. Well, that's all I have.
Ms. Amanda Brock, County Administrator.
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brock. Next, we have a presentation of South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation presentation to the Oconee County Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for letting me come before you on this special occasion. Again, I am Chris Watts, Chief of Police for the Rock Hill Police Department, but more important, I am the chair of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation Council, and that is the reason why I'm here. Again, I appreciate allowing me to recognize and celebrate Sheriff Crenshaw and his staff at the Oconee County Sheriff's Office. They have successfully completed the accreditation assessment process for state accreditation. They were unanimously approved by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation Council. Sheriff Crenshaw has succeeded in meeting all accreditation standards. This is a big deal and a major accomplishment. It shows Sheriff Crenshaw as a leader in law enforcement, especially in South Carolina. Accreditation is a challenging process, but ensures that agencies meet best practices in policy. This commitment shows and represents the professionalism, accountability, transparency, and dedication to the people they serve. I want to kind of put this in perspective. South Carolina has 318 law enforcement agencies. Only 36 are accredited. It's only 11% of all law enforcement agencies. Of the 46 sheriff's offices, there's only 12 that has that designation as accreditation. Sheriff Crenshaw and the Oconee County Sheriff's Office has placed themselves as leaders in South Carolina law enforcement and it is something that other law enforcement agencies should follow. Let me read what the lead assessor had to say in the report summary. Under the leadership of Sheriff Mike Crenshaw, the deputies and staff of the Oconee County Sheriff's Office, they demonstrated their willingness and dedication to adhere to the prescribed standards. Introductions and interviews were conducted with a range of employees and deputies. All aspects of this on-site assessment was conducted with the utmost professionalism. Now that's something to be proud of this organization. Also, and very important, I should recognize the accreditation manager, Helen Westmoreland, for her diligence and dedication to this process. And if it's like most places, that's the one who gets it done. That's in leading that and pulling everybody together. So Sheriff Crenshaw, on the behalf of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation Council, it is my pleasure to present this certificate of accreditation. Sheriff, congratulations. I would like to read this certificate of accreditation. Sheriff Crenshaw, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation has awarded the Oconee County Sheriff's Office with this award. The Sheriff's Office has demonstrated dedication to excellence and professionalism in South Carolina law enforcement through the voluntary compliance to specific standards designed to enhance the professional delivery of law enforcement services, and is recognized as a leader in South Carolina law enforcement, and is hereby awarded this certificate of accreditation. Congratulations, Sheriff.
Thank you,
Well
Chief.
done.
We appreciate it, sir. Y'all want to come down and get a group picture? Chief said it's not all me, it's just a few of my folks that are here tonight. It's a group effort. Drove all the way from Rock Hill to come present this tonight. So we appreciate it.
Proud of- I knew you did. That means a lot. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a presentation from the Appalachian Council of Governments. Mr. Steve
Pellissier.
Pellissier, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Durham and members of County Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. And I know you have a lengthy agenda, so I'm going to be quick. The primary reason I'm here is to say thank you. Thank you for the support, partnership, investment from Oconee County into the Appalachian Council of Governments y'all continue to make. We appreciate that, and we hope that it continues to be a really beneficial, good thing for you all as well. I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Hart for serving on our board of directors, as well as Mr. Elliott, Mr. Davis for your past service. And I believe I saw Mr. Cruz, your citizen appointee to our board, keeping an eye on me this evening as well. I know everybody has day jobs, family stuff, your county council stuff, and so appreciate the extra effort you have to help our organization as well. Prior to the meeting, I distributed a copy of our annual report, and I hope you'll be able to take a look at that in your spare time. One thing I give in this presentation every year is return on investment. The amount of funding that goes back to the county entities, people in the county, compared to your investment into the Council of Governments. This year's return on investment ratio is far and away the best it's ever been. Now, to be clear, a lot of that is the one-time COVID American Recovery Act money that we helped entities in the county obtain. So this isn't the new level of normal, but it's been a really successful year. Your investment in the Council of Governments each year is $38,993. For 2023, the return on that investment to the county was about $34.4 million. That comes out to about $882 back for every dollar invested from the county into the Council of Governments. Again, as I mentioned, 22 million of that is the COVID, the ARPA money. So it is a one-time, but it's real money. Overall, we worked with entities to secure $26 million in grant funds. These help fund the Sewer South, other collection system improvements, some expansion and improvement in the Salem Water District, some expansions and improvements for Walhalla Water and Sewer, West Union Water, and also to fund a streetscape project in Westminster. These grants benefited over 22,000 people and 30 businesses. We continue to work on our rural transportation program. This year we had two projects in Oconee County, intersection in Oakway, SC 24 and SC 182, and then an intersection SC 59 and SC 182, $4.3 million this year. We are in the process of updating that transportation plan and looking for new priorities. Mr. Hart is on the relevant committee, so if you have a project, be nice to Mr. Hart. Let's see, also $140,000 in transit services. We were able to get two vehicles, one for Oconee County DSN and one for Senior Solutions Oconee. Continue to work with our partners at WorkLink, providing job skills training. This is actually, I think, benefits in two ways. For folks who have some sort of a challenge, something they have to get over, some training or some other issues in order to make themselves employable or more employable, we attack it from that side. And also, which these days might be even the bigger problem by far, is from the industry business side, getting those people that they need in order to do their operations. Continue to have an excellent partnership with WorkLink on that. Aging services, our purpose is to keep seniors in their homes. They're a lot happier there, and it's a lot cheaper for us as taxpayers. We funded senior services in the county this year for $473,000. That's 70,000 meals we provided to seniors in the county. In-home services to 77 seniors, $50,000, over $50,000 in family caregiver support. And we also investigated 29 complaints where a family said something wasn't right in a nursing home with one of their loved ones, and looked at those, worked those out, resolved them where we could. In a couple of cases, we have to turn it over to DHEC, or a couple of cases, law enforcement, but we're able to help those vulnerable folks in the nursing home. Economic development, we continue to work with the Economic Development Partnership. We run the property search tool. We administer the website that you all use to market to business industry all over the world, provide the information you use to complete the request for information from folks who want to invest money into the county. Been busy with a lot of training with folks from Oconee County this year. Our introduction to management and customer service training from the county, and also several of the municipalities. The state required planning education for several of the municipal planning commissions, boards of appeals, and a lot of general assistance to the municipalities, helping with some budgeting in some cases, some personnel matters, some special projects for the counties, and just a lot of phone calls and looking into information and best practices. Again, I hope you'll be able to read the rest of my report in your spare time. And again, thank you for your ongoing support to the council governments, and look forward to continuing to work with y'all.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any-
I do, so Steve, I'd like to thank you and the Appalachian Council of Governments for everything you do for the counties that you guys serve, and you do a lot for the county, so thank you.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pelliser, I appreciate your office and for, you're a great arm of the county and just a great asset for what, the minimal amount that we pay for what y'all continue to do. And I was just going through just achievement-wise and things that you've helped us, and I was just looking at, you know, the economic development again, it's one of those to where 4 announcements, 85.9 million and 267 jobs. And if you look at our, you know, counties around us, Anderson, 95.9 million, Pickens, 38.3 million. Just a marvelous job of doing some great stuff in the upstate, for the smaller counties. So, definitely, be proud of your staff. I know you are. Having served on the board up until the middle of last year, I'm very appreciative of what your staff does and very gracious for what they do. And thank you, for the council to continue to allow Appalachian Council of Governments, to be part of Oconee County, because it is a very important tool that we have here. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'd like to sort of echo what they have just said, but for the people that don't really know, y'all have y'all's fingers in a lot of pies that serve this area. And for that, I want to thank you.
Well, appreciate it, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next, we have public comment session. I don't think I have my card. We have 5 minutes to speak. When we get to 4 minutes, I'll just wave at you because I don't have my yellow stop sign card, red stop sign. And then I'll wave again at the end of the 5 minutes.
Sharon DeRitter.
Good evening, Council Chairman, council members. For the past 3 Planning Commission meetings I've attended regarding the 769 acres that are in District 1. I'm sorry, Sharon DeRitter, District 1, sorry. My fault. Anyways, I kept rehearing certain recommendations, and I'd like to bring them to you guys, and I don't know if you guys can make a decision on this or not. One is, I kept hearing, trying to designate Highway 130 Rochester as a scenic highway. Similar to what Highway 11 is on the west side of the county. I do not know what all the standards are, what a scenic highway makes and what it not does. But you have section 26-113 and 26-150, and one says, the code says it's a special value to the citizens. And in 150, scenic highway management plan wording says intrinsic qualities. So I think there's an intrinsic quality trying to do Rochester Highway 130 safe from Old Clemson Highway all the way up to Salem and keeping it that way. I heard recently about a moratorium, and I didn't hear a number like 12 months or 270 days. You'll see when I talk about that. But I guess I put in here seeking a 6-month moratorium on all residential developments which are more than, say, 20 dwelling units, because I don't want the small mom and pop one to lose business building, but I don't want these big corporate developments coming in and they can get under the wire because we have old standards. And I know people say we don't, but we sort of do. There's the county planning department. I'd like to see that because of the 6-month moratorium, we need to develop current standards, and then has to be approved, I believe, by you gentlemen. Here's some of the moratoriums that I looked up today. City of Gaffney has a moratorium for limiting the number of homes built per year. Jasper County has a current 270-day moratorium on extension of commercial and residential construction. City of Rock Hill, I guess he's not Hill. City of Rock Hill has a moratorium on multifamily construction, and Lexington County has reenacted their moratorium on home building construction. Now, I will tell you, I did not delve into these to see what the moratorium was, but I'm telling you, there is some terrible moratoriums that people have done across the country, and so hopefully we don't get bogged down in what a moratorium is, and I don't know how we do that. The last one is, the third one is, I kept hearing that the county needs to hire a planning company, consultant, I don't know, that has specific knowledge consulting the county for writing newer residential code standards and or guidelines, however you want to say all those words, regarding smart residential building and construction practices. Maybe with that 6-month moratorium, we can spend 4 or 5 months to get, planning to work on this, and then 1 month for you guys to get it approved. So those were the 3 things that I kept hearing at these planning commissions, besides trying to help what people were saying in this county and what we need to, if it's rural is our theme, rural should be our theme. We shouldn't be the Chicagos or the Orlandos. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter.
Watson Johnson.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, my name is Watson Johnson. I live in Salem. I've spent most of my life in South Carolina, primarily in Lexington County. Prior to moving to Oconee County, we lived in the Chapin area of Lexington County for over 30 years. When we moved to our house, we lived down 2 dirt roads. We were rural. Oconee County, the way I see it, is now where Lexington County was 30 years ago, before the growth exploded. The prevailing attitude in Lexington County was that growth was good. Whatever a developer wanted to do was fine with them. The attitude was also lack of road improvements would limit growth. Did it slow it down? It did not. Developers bought tracts of land, they clear cut, and they built as many homes as they could possibly put per gross acre of land. The clear cutting resulted in runoff into the rivers and into Lake Murray. We have 3 lakes in this county, we'll add 1 there. With no restrictions, there are now numerous neighborhoods with 5-foot setbacks from the property lines and 20-foot long driveways. With 20-foot long driveways, you can't park trucks or SUVs in the driveway, so what happens is people park in the street. What happens then is school buses and emergency vehicles sometimes cannot pass. They have trouble getting through that area. Another thing that happened down in that area, and it's happened elsewhere, is with the houses close together, if one catches on fire, it's not just one house. It's the houses beside it, and sometimes the houses beside those. So instead of 1, it's 3 or 5. Road congestion down there and in a lot of other places in this state is ridiculous. What used to take a 10-minute time frame to drive now takes about 30 minutes. And I'm sorry, I'd love to have some water, but I don't. If there are accidents or other issues, for instance, if I-26, a bad accident, then nobody goes anywhere. Everything is backed up. There's no way to get around. If something happens on 130, then it's going to be the exact same thing, and it already is now. County Council, she just mentioned moratorium. County Council finally got serious and put in a 6-month moratorium, and that was on anything over 10 houses in a new development. And during that 6 months' time, they put in a number of guidelines that included the number of houses per gross acre, trophy tree preservation, replacement if they're improperly removed, setbacks from roads, clear cutting limits, and apartments and patio homes were also given another set of guidelines. And they added 2 overlay districts, one large overlay district for Lake Murray and another for the agricultural section of the county. Roads, however, lagged far behind all the growth. In 2022, they put in a penny tax like Greenville's trying to do right now, and it was severely voted down. I think a 3/4 to or so margin on it.
South Carolina is one of the most desirable states to move to, and according to the Journal this last Saturday, South Carolina in last year ranked number 1 in, as the growth state. Growth has exploded all over the state, and the experiences in Lexington County, Lexington County can be seen all over the state. If you go to upstate, you go to Rock Hill, Lancaster area, anything around Charlotte, you go anywhere along the coast, growth is ridiculous. Oconee County has a choice. You can do one of two things. You can let growth happen on its own and try to deal with it on the back end, or you can plan for it by putting in good and reasonable guidelines with a very hard look at the impact. The impact is not just on roads and traffic, although everyone feels that daily. The impact is on all the infrastructure. It is on the police, it is on fire, it's on EMS, it's on schools, it's on healthcare, and it's on the businesses necessary to support the increased population. Well-planned growth provides adequate roads in advance to handle
Motion for 1 minute.
Just,
to handle the significant increase in traffic. It limits the clear cutting, requires open spaces, it saves trees, prevents runoff that damages the rivers and the lakes. Smart growth also allows for input and approval from all public services, police, fire, EMS, schools, everybody, that will be affected by the proposed growth for any development or before any development can occur. And that has just been done in Lexington County. I've received information. The proposed development on 130 will have a major impact on Oconee County. If it goes through, the county will have to deal with the effect sooner or later, but we'll have to deal with it. If this development goes through, my question is, are you prepared for the impact? And my experience is, I'm sorry, gentlemen, with all due respect, you're not ready. Thank you very much for your time.
Debbie Brown.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening, and I want to say thank you, James Coley, for answering my email. I came to the meeting last night and been to the meeting a couple times planning, and just had some questions because everybody comes up and talks and never can have their questions answered. And I'm up here talking about the proposal for the 894 homes and less than that 1 square mile. And I'm not quite sure who approves it. James just said it wasn't the county, it wasn't the planning commission. So I know some plans are out there. We still don't know when it's gonna happen and when he's really gonna bring this plan. But I just wanted to discuss the concerns of the growth of the county and the lack of planning. There's a lot of growth being proposed right now, not only 130 and other subdivisions throughout the other places throughout the county, too close to schools, the impact on roads. We just really, I think a plan needs to be done and to really look at the infrastructure, the healthcare, fire, sewer, police, water, roads, everything. And how much it's going to cost to provide more of this to these places that more and more people are coming to. I really think that we need to delegate some protection to our farmland, to the Highway 11, scenic highway, keep that scenic. We need to look at Pickens. They have planning on the different areas. If it's urban, down in the city, I know people want to say, well, it's my land, don't do anything with it. I can do whatever I want to. Well, a farmer can have, somebody pull up and put a subdivision and then all this runoff runs in his land. So we do need to plan accordingly. We need to look at, maybe not as a county as a whole. This is farmland. This is how we need to control this land over here. This is urban area. This is how we need to control it. Look at the size of subdivisions. How many houses per acre? But come up with a plan and not just, hey, Mr. Developer, let's do whatever you want to, but that's what it sounds like we're doing. We could take that area off of 130, and right now, you all can vote on it and make it agriculture, and you won't have people coming to all these meetings. Even though it was, forgot what it was called, but y'all can take it and make it agriculture, and then people won't vote on it. It's a preservation area. It's a beautiful piece of land next to the lake, next to the river, and we need to preserve more of that. So please start looking at controlling our growth and not just saying yes to every single thing that comes in here. The more things that are proposed, one thing there was a proposal for the subdivision in 2010 that had a healthcare facility. It had the YMCA there. I wasn't wild about the hotel, but it also had an outdoor adventure center. If you all can't, vote on it to change it to agriculture to where nobody will build on it, let's think of something where we can put things in that area that people will stay there and not get on 130 and go into town. Because right now, turning on 130 and 123 is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Any time of the day. Well, maybe not at 7 o'clock in the morning when I go into the YMCA, but any time after that, it's horrible. And then one other thing, I just wanted to question on the planning committee. There is a real estate agent and a developer on that committee. That is a huge conflict of interest. And I don't know if on the code of ethics, I haven't looked into that, the South Carolina Code of Ethics, but having a developer on there, they can get people to side with what he wants to make the right of way less, so the developer has more land. So please look at that. I don't know if you have anything to do with that, but I think having a real estate agent on a planning commission is a very big conflict of interest. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Y'all have a good evening.
Stanley Gibson.
Good evening, Council. I'm Stanley Gibson. I serve as the chairman of the board for the Farm Center. Unfortunately, at the budget workshop, Mr. Hart shared some concerning information that he had about the Farm Center and some questionable practices that had occurred there. After talking to Mr. Hart, and thank you, Mr. Hart, for taking time to speak with us about it, it was determined that he had gotten some bad information. The item in question was talking about how we did bids and all that sort of thing. Legally, we are not required to take bids. In this matter, we actually did. We had sealed bids. We opened the bids. We awarded it to the lowest bid. At that time, we had received a $100,000 grant from the state, and so we were limited in what we could spend. And the bid that we accepted came under that amount, so we could get the grading work done that needed to be done at the Farm Center. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. It was also printed in the newspaper. And so as people in the community are able to see this, it raises a question about the Farm Center and how we do business there. And it is a concern for us in the board. And if you look at the last 2 rows back here, you'll see the majority of the Farm Center board is here because we are concerned about that. We've worked a long time to keep a good name in this community and in this county. And it's bad when word gets out where people question and they doubt what we're doing. So again, Mr. Hart, thank you for reaching out to us and discussing this with us. Hopefully we can get this rectified. Also, hopefully the newspaper will print a retraction as well, showing that there is no hanky-panky going on at the Farm Center unless the animals are doing it in the barn. That's just not something we're into. We're here to be an asset for the community, and we're very thankful to Oconee County. We're not here without Oconee County, because the land there that was leased to us in 2017 has allowed us to put I think a shining star on this county, and the potential for that Farm Center is just unreal. The Ag Advisory Committee will be having their meeting there next Monday, so each of you are cordially invited to come out. If you hadn't had an opportunity to come to the Farm Center and see what it all looks like, please come out. If you have any questions on anything, if you get any information, as Mr. Hart did, please reach out to me or reach out to another board member. And let's set the record straight before it gets into the newspaper and stuff, so we're not spreading false information out to the community. Again, thank you for your support. We appreciate everything you do for the county. Thank you.
That's all this evening.
That's all. I have one to read. This is addressed to Mr. Elliott. It's from Miss Nancy Porter. It says, Mr. Elliott, I believe you are the councilman for District 1 that represents the proposed development on Highway 130 from Newry to Holder's Landing. I'm a lifelong resident of Oconee County and live on property that my parents purchased in 1947 on what is now Doug Holler Road. I have witnessed Lake Hartwell and Lake Kiwi's development, as well as the Duke Energy's nuclear plant being built and the change it brought to our community. I want to voice my objection to this huge development. Adding 6,000 more vehicles to Highway 130 is absurd. There are 2 dams to be considered, plus all the traffic that is already on the road from Duke employees. What about water, sewer, fire protection, and crime? The list could go on and on. I beg you, do not support this development for Oconee County. We do not want to become another Greenville or Atlanta. We have already lost a small town. Please don't make it bigger. Thank you, Nancy Porter. That's all, so now we'll move on to council member comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Mr. Ritter and Ms. Brown for bringing up the beautiful Rochester Highway. Every day I drive that road, and I remember why I came here. It is the most beautiful drive. Hopefully, when you're enjoying it, you're not driving because you'll drive into the lake or down the hill. But as you go over the 2 dams, you see the lake, the mountains, and then you come up the road and you see it to the right. All this beautiful land and trees that we're talking about will be destroyed by this development. So I agree. I know there's some people right now that are working on making the scenic highway, and hopefully it'll come to the planning commission and county council for approval sooner than later. Mr. Johnson, I remember 30 years ago, I was visiting my sister-in-law who lives on Lake Murray, and they took their boat out. And I remember what Lake Murray and the houses around in that area looked like back then. And also have been there recently, and it's night and day. And I don't think we want that to happen to Oconee County. Go down the coast. When I was at the Citadel, we did oyster roast on Daniel Island. It was all owned by a paper company. One of my classmates' fathers was the caretaker of Daniel Island. Drive down to Mount Pleasant and go over the bridges going to Mount Pleasant and look at Daniel Island now. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And thank you for the Farm Center. You guys do a lot for education of kids. You have the vegetables there and the market there. I appreciate all that y'all do. I think we as council should always do our investigation, our due diligence before we make any accusations. Because the newspaper's here tonight, and those accusations will get in the newspaper. So I think we all need to do our due diligence and get better at exploring, investigating the facts before we make comments here on council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Elliott, any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hart?
Start with, I made a comment about the Farm Bureau, and that's Farm Bureau is an insurance company, and I've affiliated the farmers with them, and I only had a couple of farmers that were complaining about the transparency, and they also asked about, they didn't know if those were bids were let out. Now, Mr. Stanley Gibson told me that there was advertised in the newspaper and they had 2 bids, and that the lowest bid was accepted and the family member recused themselves. And the way that he's told me, I think all of this is up and up at the law, but still there's something there that you need to consider next time. That's appearance. When you got a surname on the board and you got someone receiving a bid with the same surname, we have that here in council. We award bids of multi-million dollars, and we have people here with the same surname as the people receiving these bids. And I talked with a chairman from another county and asked him how that could be solved, and he said that we should have a lock box at a bank, and every time you turn in a bid, you go to a banker, he opens the box, you drop in the bid, and until the day of the bid, it is opened. And that would eliminate some of these questions that we have. Is anybody getting inside information? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Any other comments?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but after that comment, I feel the need to say something. The closed bid process, I've never looked at a bid. And, you know, I've been accused up here actually by you of buying tractors from my cousin, giving contracts to my other cousin. Both of those I abstained from, but it was stated in open session, just like the statement at the farm center, that there was something going on, and it was shady, and that damages good organizations, good businesses, just to smear a person for whatever the reason. And it's not fair, especially the organization that has nothing to do with it. And half the time, especially those that are providing bids, that process doesn't involve any of us up here on council. Unless I'm unaware of something going on, the whole bid process, procurement process doesn't involve any five of us until the award comes into play. So when it comes back to council, it's council's job, or a council member's job, to decide if they should remove themselves from the vote, which I have when it's involved any council members. But I also know of a time when you had a family member that actually received a bid from the county, you mentioned it, and you voted on it, which I really don't have a problem with it because of the way the procurement process was. But you make a statement even tonight to kind of say, here's what it is, we're given names. Just because somebody has a different name doesn't mean that people don't know the connections. And that's a good business that was awarded that contract. And I didn't stand up here and say anything about it because it was a fair award for the process. And it's a good business. And they're good employees. But when we make statements just to try to be derogatory, whether it's to a council member or whether it's to an organization or it's something involving politics, you're damaging more than the person you're actually trying to go at. And I think if we sit here tonight and you look at that, it's not just a person you're trying to go at. It's hundreds and thousands of people. So I caution you to make those, before you make those statements, and before somebody gives you information, you're like, hey, watch this. Just do a little bit of factual information so you don't have to make apology and we don't have people that are damaged by a simple comment that didn't need to be made. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis, I don't remember saying anything about you buying a tractor, didn't even know you had a tractor.
I didn't buy the tractor. It was a statement that was made up here. I'll be glad to pull them up.
And as far as a relative of mine, they worked for another company, and the company didn't have the same name, didn't have Hart and be voting for Hart. It had a different name. It was some other grading company that he happened to work for and run a machine. And I asked, should I recuse myself? And the majority came back and said, no, it's not necessary. So I just want to make sure that this molehill that we got don't turn into a mountain.
I agree.
And the part that I mentioned about the bid, that bid did happen, and one of the family members got the low bid, got the contract. That part was true. So again, where you trying to sabotage this, the biggest part of what I said was true.
But the whole factor of that family member abstaining from the vote was not mentioned. The whole reason, in my opinion, the whole reason that comment was made was to be a derogatory comment. I didn't see any positive reason why that comment would have been made. If it was me, I probably would have called and made the statement before I did that in here, unless it's about that. I didn't bring that up about any organization. I know that he works there. Again, it's a good company. It's a great, I appreciate them bidding. It was a great bid. They did a fantastic job for us. And it's actually up to the council member to recuse themselves, not any of us up here to say somebody should recuse.
Well, we have an attorney that usually can tell you that, if I'm not mistaken.
I would disagree with that statement. I think it's up to each council member to decide if they should vote or not. I don't have an issue with you voting. You asked actually that night. I said I didn't have an issue. But when you're talking about family members receiving stuff and then you voted for it, I'm just saying that that's my issue. I don't have an issue with you voting for it. But you're saying that another family member gave another family member a job and you're accusing the organization of it. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Well, that's understandable.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we're gonna move to public hearing. We have a number of these. All right, we have public hearing ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance amending chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in certain limited regards, particulars only, regarding the establishment of a commercial junkyard ordinance to be entitled Commercial Junkyards and other matters related thereto. Those speakers? I close public hearing on ordinance 2024-04. All right, public hearing on ordinance 2024-09, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of easement rights to the Oconee Joint Regional Sewer Authority for the purpose of sewer infrastructure construction and maintenance at the Seneca Rail Park and other matters related thereto.
We have no speakers.
Speakers? All right, close public hearing for ordinance 2024-09. Ordinance 2024-11, an ordinance to amend and supplement ordinance 2023-16, which established the budget for Oconee County and provided for the levy of taxes for the ordinary county purposes for the Tri-County Technical College Special Revenue Fund, for the Emergency Services Protection Special Revenue Fund, for the Road Maintenance Special Revenue Fund, for the Bridge and Culvert Capital Project Fund, for the Economic Development Capital Project Fund, for the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Capital Projects Fund, for the Debt Service Fund, for the Victim Services Special Revenue Fund, for the Capital Vehicle and Equipment Fund, and for the creation of the Fire Emergency Services Capital Vehicle and Equipment Fund, the Community Health and Community Services Fund, and the General One-Time Capital Fund, all in Oconee County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, ending June 30th, 2024, in order to effect supplemental appropriations and other matters related thereto.
We have no speakers.
No speakers? I close public hearing on ordinance 2024-11. Public hearing on ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of easement rights to Central Electric Power Cooperative Incorporated for the purpose of utility infrastructure construction and maintenance at the Seneca Rail Park and other matters related thereto. speakers? I close public hearing on ordinance 2024-12. All right, next we have third reading of the following ordinances. Ordinance 2024-4, that's the ordinance I just read, that's amending chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances for the junkyard, commercial junkyard ordinance. It's on your screen as written. Do you have a motion?
Make motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead, Mr. Hart.
I'll be recusing myself again.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have ordinance 2024-09. This ordinance authorizing the conveyance of easement rights to the Oconee Joint Regional Sewer Authority for sewer infrastructure construction and maintenance at the Seneca Rail Park. Previously read, it's on your screen.
So moved.
Have a motion, second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a ordinance 2024-11. Previously read, this is the budget amendment ordinance for the current fiscal year we're in. It should be on your screen in a moment. Right there,
So moved.
motion,
Second.
second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Votes 5-0.
All right, we have ordinance 2024-12. This ordinance authorizing conveyance of easement rights to Central Electric Power Cooperative Incorporated for the purpose of utility infrastructure construction and maintenance at Seneca Rail Park. Previously read on your screen.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Votes 5-0.
Okay, I didn't miss one, did I? 2024. Okay. All right, we have no second readings. First reading was removed at the start of the meeting. I have a first and final reading of the following resolutions. Resolution 2024-6, a resolution certifying certain real property in Oconee County as an abandoned textile mill site, including parcels identified by tax map numbers 271-01-01-150 and 271-01-01-166.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rude,
Yes, sir.
can you explain a little bit about this to us in summary?
Certainly, and this is kind of a renewal. Point West did this a couple years back for the whole property down there by that mill. That's been taken down now, but essentially a company that's gonna revitalize the textile mill or textile mill site, which includes all the ancillary uses, landfills and things like this, and within 1,000 square foot radius of that, can apply either for income tax credits or property tax credits because they're doing this revitalization work against their, in this case, against their income. They're not doing it as to property tax credits. They just need a certification from the county, which is already given back to Point West, but this is specific to 2 parcels. This is, yes, that was textile mill, it's been abandoned, it's a textile mill site, and here's your certification for it, then they can apply for the income credits.
Any other questions, discussion? Had a motion second, correct? All in favor?
Votes 5-0.
Next we have discussion regarding action items. We have a departmental fund transfer in the amount of $125,000 to the rock quarry. Budget $0, project cost $0, balance $0. The funds for the transfer will come from other line items previously approved in the fiscal year 23-24 budget, making this transaction budget neutral. It's the staff's recommendation that council approve the transfer of funds previously approved in the fiscal year 23-24 budget to the maintenance and equipment line item.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Votes 5-0.
Council committee reports. First, we have the real estate facilities and land management from Mr. Davis. The meeting was held on March 19th of this year.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Real estate facilities, land management met March 19th, 2024. Mr. Davis, Mr. Mize, Mr. Hart, President. Real estate facilities, Mr. Phil Shirley PRT Director presented updates related to High Falls Park. Also, Mr. Tom Moxley, our Quarry Manager, provided information and request to sell the former crushing plant. We requested the committee to consider allowing quarry staff to have continued preventative maintenance to the current plant. Next committee will be Tuesday, June 8th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next, we have Mr. Mize with the March 19th Planning
Okay,
and Economic Development, so this misprinted on the agenda. Planning and Economic Development Committee.
okay, the Planning and Economic Development Committee was comprised of myself, Mr. Durham, and Mr. Hart. Met in council chambers on March 19th, 2024 at 4:30 PM, where Mr. Ken Sloan, President and CEO of Visit Oconee SC, presented details related to the Visit Oconee strategic plan. And that particular night, due to time constraints at the meeting, all other discussion items will be scheduled at a future meeting. The next scheduled meeting for this committee is on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 at 4:30 PM.
Thank you, Mr. Mize. Next, we have the March 22nd meeting of the Budget Finance Administration Committee, chaired by Mr. Elliott.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The committee met at 9 a.m. on March 22nd, 2024 for a budget workshop. All council members, I believe other than Mr. Davis, was present. Ms. Brock provided the committee with an overview of the fiscal year 2025 departmental budget requests, special revenue funds, capital project funds, enterprise fund, and the debt service fund. The next Budget Finance and Administration meeting will be Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 4:30 PM.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Next item on the agenda, we have board and commission appointments for Agricultural Advisory Board. We have
Not tonight.
not tonight for District 4. Thank you. We have Conservation Bank Board. We have one at-large seat with no questionnaires on file. Now, I need a motion to enter executive session to receive legal advice and discuss litigation related to the expenditure of general obligation bond funds. Item number 2, discuss safety equipment and weaponry needs for the Oconee County Sheriff's Office related to upgraded weapons.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.